It's coal versus COP24. Can a new round of UN climate talks make progress in the fight against carbon? I'm Imran Gupta, and today's Newsmaker is Poland's Climate Change Summit. 200 countries have come together to save the planet as leaders meet at the biggest climate change summit since the Paris Agreement was signed 3 years ago. The aim is to stop the world from warming by 2 degrees Celsius to prevent an environmental catastrophe. But if you need evidence of mounting resistance, the delegates are meeting in the city of Katowice, in the heart of Poland's coal country. And the hosts aren't the only skeptics. China wants developing nations held to looser standards that are already voluntary. And the US is expected to push what it calls clean coal. Scientists have already described the Paris Accord as mission impossible. So is there any chance of success at these talks? Our correspondent Sandra Gatman was there and spent time in the country's richest coal mining region to understand why Poland is digging in its heels.
Right now, we are facing a man-made disaster of global scale. Our greatest threat in thousands of years.
Climate change is running faster than we are. This is already a matter of life or death.
The warnings are stark. Experts say that to save our planet, the world needs to stop using coal by 2050. They're drafting ambitious plans to make that happen at this year's COP24 climate conference in Poland. But in an ironic twist, the host country isn't ready to let go.
To nasz wielki skarb. Mamy największe zasoby w Europie. I proszę się nie martwić. Dopóki ja pełnię w Polsce urząd prezydenta, nie pozwolę na to, aby ktokolwiek zamordował polskie górnictwo. Bo z wielką...
Giving up coal has not been easy for Poland. It powers the economy. More than 80% of its electricity comes from coal, and that number used to be even higher. Over the years, Poland has closed down dozens of mines in Lower Silesia. Unemployment soared, and some towns have struggled to recover. In the mid-90s, Wałbrich's 3 mines closed overnight. Roman worked in one of them, and he's still out of a job.
I myślę, że na Górnym Śląsku, gdyby teraz zamknięto kopalnię, to stałoby się tak samo jak u nas. Zaczęłoby się jedno wielkie bezrobocie, jeden wielki szum. Myślę, że wielkie manifestacje, strajki, no bo nie sposób jest wiele tysiącom ludzi dać w jednym dniu pracę.
But with so much coal still left in the ground, some miners haven't given up.
Tu jest dziura, tam jest później chodnik, to idzie w tamtą stronę.
They've been digging on this hillside illegally.
You can see why coal is so treasured in these parts. It's so easy to dig it out of the ground. Some people question why digging shafts like this and extracting coal is considered illegal because it's something so natural to people. It's like gathering wood.
Roman wanted to show us just how easy it is.
To żeby trochę wydobyć, trochę zarobić i głównie na opał. Coraz to niżej, coraz to dalej się po prostu postępuje, żeby zdobyć, wydrzeć z ziemi bogactwo, które tutaj jest, czyli czarne złoto. To jest nazywane czarnym złotem. Elegancki.
Poland's coal industry is shrinking, but still powerful. It employs nearly 400,000 people. A new mine is scheduled to open next year.
the unions are a very important part of the picture, and the mines itself and this whole industry is a very big lobbying party.
It's a country where change is perceived as a chance for a better future.
Coal companies even sponsored this year's climate talks, championing the catchphrase "Just Transition," code for protecting jobs. For Polish miners, that means the party isn't over. This week, they've been celebrating Saint Barborka, their patron saint who they believe keeps them safe underground. Right now, these men really do feel protected.
Do święta górnika, dlatego że bardzo cenimy to, co mamy, doceniamy to, co mamy. Przede wszystkim pracę, bezpieczeństwo i możliwość utrzymania naszych rodzin.
Off camera, some miners told us they don't believe in climate change. Others say coal allows Poland to be self-reliant, not dependent on Russia for energy. And for many, the attachment to mining is something more.
Mundur w Polsce zawsze był szanowany. Mundur wojskowego, mundur górnika i zgodnie z polskim za mundurem panny Sztury.
But the people of Poland are already suffering the consequences of burning coal. They breathe some of the worst air in Europe.
In the winter time, in Poland in general, air pollution is linked with burning solid fuels in domestic boilers. And when you go outside, you just smell it. So actually last year in January, more people were hospitalized than normally because of the air pollution. It's not just asthma, but also cancer, stroke can be linked to air pollution.
Awareness is growing. A recent survey found that 8 out of 10 Poles want cleaner energy. In Krakow, years of pressure on city officials has led to a first-ever ban on domestic coal stoves.
Thanks to our campaign in September 2019, that will be the last month of burning solid fuels.
These days, Roman goes everywhere with a camera.
Staram się tradycje górnicze, czyli biesiady górnicze, barburki, utrwalać. Coś, co kiedyś będzie jakimś kawałkiem historii.
He knows change is coming. He's lived it.
Marsz, marsz.
But old habits die hard. Sandra Gatman, The Newsmakers, Silesia, Poland.
Well, to discuss this, we're joined in Warsaw by Dominik Tarczynski. He's a Polish MP with the ruling Law and Justice Party. In Washington, D.C., we have Marc Morano. He's the executive director of Climate Depot, a website that disputes the scientific consensus on climate change. And finally, in Katowice, Poland, is James Ellsmoor. He's the founder of the group Solar Head of State, which works with governments to promote renewable energy. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. James, let me begin with you. There are people who see this conference as the most important since the Paris 2015 conference. Do you agree with that?
Well, this conference is all about setting out the rule book for how we implement the Paris Agreement. And I think it's unfortunate that we've seen such a drive towards non-renewable energy in this conference. I think there's a very important change that we saw since last year with Fiji chairing towards this year with Poland. And I think it's very important in the sense that the leadership around this conference is perhaps not as strong as it was last year. And that is very challenging for future negotiations.
Tell me why it's not as strong, James.
Well, Fiji, as a small island developing state, is particularly vulnerable to the risk of climate change. We've seen hurricanes there year after year, and there's a worry that these are only going to get worse and be combined with rising sea levels. And they were really representing the rest of the Pacific Islands and calling for strict cuts and a move away from fossil fuels towards renewable energy, as well as climate finance to address the impact of climate change for low-income countries. Now, in the Polish case, we're in a country that is 80% of the electricity is generated by coal. and there are very different. There's a very different rationale of how we should deal with climate change than we saw from the future.
Yeah, President Duda refusing to abandon coal says it does not contradict the protection of the climate. Dominik Tarczynski, that's your government's position. You're hosting the conference. You must be proud to host the conference. Is it easy to square what seems to be two contradictory intentions, protecting the environment, but also not wanting to gut a crucial driver of your economy?
Yeah, obviously. I'm very proud that this conference is taking place in Poland, which proves that we really take care about our environment, that pollution is a very serious problem, and we are taking steps to get rid of pollution. And very important thing is that these contradictions which you mentioned, we can cope with that. First of all, our government started very important reform, which is called Clear Air. We're going to spend 3 billion euros for over 1,000 buses, electrical buses. Then we are going to spend 250 million euros for new technology heaters in the private houses. We're going to support those who will be happy to exchange the old technology for the new one. And very important thing, I'd like to show you specific data, which is important to our discussion about polluters in Europe. This is very important. Germany, 23%. Great Britain, 11.2.
Yeah, we can't.
Then you've got
we can't
Italy,
fully see
which
that
is
actually.
over 10%.
You can tell
And
us we
then
can't
it's
fully see that.
Poland.
Yeah, certainly. We can't fully see it because it's too far away. But we'll take your word for it. Yeah.
It's official data. You can Google it. It's what I'm trying to say is that Poland is not a biggest polluter as someone says, or trying to put the words into the mouth. Great Britain, Italy, France. This is very important. So why I'm saying that? Because we need someone to cooperate. We need people to make these very important decisions together. We cannot have any kind of hypocrisy. And when you look at the history, because the pollution is a very serious issue, but this is political, historical, and economical issue. When you go through the history and you see Germans, I'm not talking about Second World War II only, but 17th, 18th, 19th century, and you see Russians all these days, how they reacted, how they treated Poland. We have to fight for our security with the energy. That's why we will never, ever stop our safety, and at the moment our black gold is coal. So when we have Germany, building Nord Stream 2, when we have France selling warships, Mistrals to Russia, we have to think about our security. Obviously, as I said, environment is very important for us. I want my son and grandson to be healthy, to be happy with a beautiful environment. But we have to be responsible for the next generation and the safety of our nation.
Yeah, let me bring in Marc Morano. So Marc, interestingly, Dominik talks about not wanting to have pollution. There are those who agree with the scientific consensus who believe that beyond just actual pollution of the air, the burning of the fossil fuel coal leads to global warming. I guess that's what you would dispute. Do you accept the consensus at this conference, Marc, that everybody's working towards lessening the burning of fossil fuels so that global warming also stops by 2050?
No, I don't accept that consensus. And first of all, I'll be heading to Poland in a few days, and I'll be there all next week. What Dominik said is exactly right. First of all, let's distinguish between actual pollution and carbon dioxide emissions. And yes, there's all kinds of technology and improvement and infrastructure development you can do to improve the results of coal burning to clean up your air, and Poland is doing that. But in terms of what Dominik just said about the history of Poland, to be dominated by Germany, then decades under the Soviet Union, all they've done now is essentially replaced a new regulatory body that's come in, and it's going to be the EU and the UN telling Poland how they can do their energy mix. 79% of Poland is coal miners. It's one of the most revered institutions. Polling shows that mine workers are considered the highest, most respected citizens in the country. This is part of Polish nationalism. There's nothing wrong with it. And what I would say to Dominik, what I would say to Poland is join President Trump, join Brazil, join these other countries that are taking a hard look and start looking at a way out
we respect
of this
Donald
UN
Trump.
mess,
I
which
think
can only
Donald
hurt
Trump
Poland.
is very right.
Okay, so let me bring in James here because something that's interesting here,
but
right?
what I'm trying to say,
hold on,
European Union and UN, we are the part of this family.
Okay, you are a part of this family. And something that's interesting here, we've heard it from other countries as well. They're saying, rich industrialized countries, you guys polluted the environment, you guys contributed to global warming while you industrialized, and now you're asking us to also shoulder the burden as we all get together. But hold on, why is it so imbalanced, right? That's fundamentally one of the issues politically. But beyond that, James, let me bring you in here, because what we're hearing from Marc and what we're hearing from Dominik as well is that they're sure about the fact that burning something like coal makes the air dirty, but they're not so sure about the other thing, which the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change says is that if we don't stop burning coal as a fossil fuel, if we don't do it by 97% by 2015, we won't be able to limit global warming by 1.5%. So, James, how do you deal with the fact that fundamentally people believe very different things when it comes to why you should stop using coal as a fossil fuel?
Well, absolutely. I think we can all accept air quality as a serious issue here in Silesia, Katowice, where we are. In parts of the region this week, the air quality has been reaching a critical state. The equivalent of being outside to smoking 10 to 20 cigarettes a day, depending on where you are. So we can all agree that that is an important reason to reduce coal. I reject the claims that the Polish government is moving quickly on climate change. They currently, as I said, use 80% of electricity comes from coal. They're only going to reduce that to 50% by 2050, and that's just not enough that we need. But I'd also completely agree that we need further action from Germany, from the UK, from France. I mean, I'm not here just to criticize Poland. I realize Poland is in a difficult position, and I fully appreciate the difficulty for miners and traditional mining regions that we'll have in this country during the transition. But the reality is the current Polish government is saying there's 200 years of coal left in the ground, and that's just not true. If you want to do justice for the miners living in this country, you need to prepare for that transition, prepare for a move away from coal, and actually renewable energy for places like Poland in the longer period is going to make economic sense.
Okay, so Dominik, are you preparing for renewable energy and alternatives? I mean, it's not a law of nature that you have to burn coal forever and ever, right?
Well, we are very open for the dialogue. We are very open for the new technology. As I said, this 3 billion euros, which will be spent for the over 1,000 electrical buses, is just to prove that we are one of the few countries in Europe which really does change, and we really care. So then we've got over 250 million euros for this more advanced heaters. So we are open for the green energy, but it doesn't mean that we have to resign from our black gold. It's very important because, as I said, I'm trying to look on the bigger picture. It's important because of the safety, security. Look at Ukraine. Ukraine was promised that if they will give away the nuclear power, the integrity of the country will be safe. And look what is happening now. Russia is attacking. So we need to have people who have credibility, and we need to have partners who really want to do the change. Show me one country in Europe which is doing as much as we do. What about China? What about other partners? And again, UN is us. We are the part of UN. European Union is us. We are the part of the European Union, and we are equal like everyone else. So it's not like that someone is going to tell us or others what to do and how to do it. We can discuss it as a partners. We can take your advices, but you know, we are not owned by anyone. Again, don't get me wrong. We really love our children. We love our families. All of us are aware of this problem. This is a very serious problem. But we have to do it step by step, keeping in mind who is our neighbor. I'm talking about Poland. We've got Germany, which is the biggest polluter, and we've got Russians who are doing the deal with Nord Stream 2. Energy is the way to take over power very often. So it's not only about health. It's not about quality of air only, but about the security, about the safety of the whole nation.
Marc Morano, moving away from... Oh, okay, James, you want to jump in? Jump in. Come in.
Importing coal from other countries. And so renewable energy, I think this is often left out of the conversation, that renewable energy is a very important way for countries to achieve energy security. And for Poland to increase the amount of renewable energy that it's doing would be very valuable for its actual security, as it would be in the United States and other countries. I don't want this to be all fingers pointed at Poland, because of course this needs to be a global effort, and Poland is just one part of that. But they are chairing this conference, and so they have a huge influence over any decisions that happen this week.
Mark, you want to come in?
Yes, I just wanted to say here, the key here is that, yes, you can have and make a foray into renewable energy, but you can't ban energy that works, oil, gas, coal, and mandate energy that's not ready. And if it is ready, then fine, let it take over. Why do you have to ban all the energy that's proven itself successful?
But Mark, it isn't a ban.
James's point, hold on, 1 point.
Mark, the Polish coal companies are sponsoring this conference. You think they would sponsor something that...
I'm talking about the UN goals. Well, the UN climate chief has said they seek a centralized transformation. They talk about a 2-degree goal, a 1.5. If you look at the ClimateGate emails from the scandal, the top UN scientists admitted these numbers were pulled from thin air. This is a political move to give central planning to a few key bureaucrats in the EU and the United Nations to micromanage all these countries. Poland doesn't deserve that. The EU wants to give Poland $1.5 billion to ease the transition as they lay off coal workers, assuming Poland follows these UN edicts and goals from the UN Paris Agreement. But I would argue if Poland can reject that money, reject these goals, do what's best for Poland. That is the problem here, is that Poland does not need to cede sovereignty over to the EU, to the United Nations. And I stand with Dominik here, and I ask you, Poland to stay strong, take a page from the United States and other countries that are following suit.
Okay, although Dominik, unlike Mark, you don't reject that climate change is going on, right? You accept that it's going on. You accept it's a problem, right, Dominik?
It's all about various opinion of the people who are working on it, scientists. I can tell that we've got a problem in some of the Polish cities like anyone else, but again, we are not the biggest polluter. The Germany is over 23%, Great Britain, France, Italy, and then you've got somewhere Poland in the end. But the whole discussion, it's not about Poland itself. Obviously, again, I'm very proud that this summit is taking place in Poland, but the whole problem is worldwide. It is a kind of crisis because of lack of decisions. The decisions and the declarations from Paris were not fulfilled. So again, it's about credibility of our partners. That's why I do agree with President Trump, step by step, but do not give away your sovereignty and your own safety. So, apart from the healthy part of pollution, unhealthy, and then medical problems and issues, there is a political and economical war. There are many countries which would be very happy to get rid of coal in Poland and other countries. We are aware of that. That's why, A, we're going to fight with the pollution. B, we're going to spend as much as we can. C, we are already spending the most in European Union. So, take example from Poland, spend at least the same money, even though we are having less money in our budget, and then we can talk as a partners. Again, 3 billion euros for over 1,000 buses, electronic buses, that's just for the beginning, and then 250 million euros for the heaters in the private homes. This is what we already started. So please take example from Poland.
Okay, it's been a fascinating intersection of different ideas, especially given the fact that this conference has been happening in Katowice, the capital of the Silesian mining district in Poland. Gentlemen, I appreciate you taking the time.
Which proves that we are open for the discussion.
Yeah, and I'm glad you came onto the show and you were open for discussion here as well. James Ellsmoor, Marc Morano, and Dominik Tarczynski. I've got to move on.